Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Democratic Convention. And as you saw right here last night, President Obama let Donald Trump have it during his address. Here's a little bit of what he said.
America is already great. America is already strong. And I promise you, our strength, our greatness, does not depend on Donald Trump. In fact, it doesn't depend on any one person. And that, in the end, may be the biggest difference in this election. The meaning of our democracy. Ronald Reagan called America a shining city on a hill. Donald Trump calls it a divided crime scene that only he can fix. He's selling the American people short. We're not a fragile people. We're not a frightful people. Our power doesn't come from some self-declared savior promising that he alone can restore order as long as we do things his way. We don't look to be ruled.
Congressman, this is a president who seems very, very comfortable speaking at Democratic conventions.
Exactly, Andrew. And what was so appealing about him, whether you agree with his policies or not, or his legacy, is his personality is very appealing. He's warm. He's very folksy, and Hillary doesn't have that. But what Obama said was important. He said that Donald Trump sees America as being in a hellhole, and that only he can take us out of it. He, someone who is a businessman, that's his chief credential, who went bankrupt 6 times, has been sued more than 1,000 times, and who says he admires Vladimir Putin, Saddam Hussein, and the leader of North Korea.
You know, Bill, the president took pains not to attack Republicans or to attack the Republican Party, just Trump, even pointing out that Trump is out of step with mainstream Republicans, which might be an argument that appeals to a guy like you.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart plan. I've noticed that during the convention that a distinction is being made between Trump and traditional Republicans, and clearly Hillary Clinton and the campaign are trying to pick off some Republicans that won't go with Trump. I mean, you got to think who's available to them. That's what the convention's about, is who's still available in the electorate. You have independents that are clearly available, you have some Republicans available, and you have Bernie Sanders supporters. Some of them are still available. And that's who they're really gearing their message towards. I think the president gave a good speech there. But again, and I don't mean to be a broken record, it's reactive. It's all reactive to Trump. It's not, this is what we're going to do with the next 4 years. And I don't think that's clear enough, and I think that's a great liability this year for the Democrats. I don't think they've spelled out what they want to do with the country next.
Because Trump has spent so much time and energy dedicated to what he wants to do with the country.
But he's got, like it or not, he's got, I'm going to make America great. Trust me, I've got it. I'll take care of this. Whether you believe it or not, it's very clear, and some people obviously believe it. A lot of people do. I don't think Hillary's got that yet, and that's the danger.
Dominic, I found myself wondering after you and I went off the air last night, because we both thought it was a very impressive speech from President Obama. Boy, if he was on the ballot this fall, you think there'd be a third term in his future?
Any sitting president has the power of incumbency, so it's an unfair advantage. Great speech by the president. It will go down as one of his best speeches. But here's the problem. A majority of Americans don't feel, to Bill's point, the way the president does.
And yet a majority of the American people still support the president and give him positive job approval numbers.
Barely. I mean, but for any incumbent, once you're over 50%, for a sitting president, that's a great barometer to judge from. But the problem is, whether we like it or not, using Bill's words, Trump has a winning message. So President Obama makes a great case for Hillary Clinton. But she's got to be the one. But wait, let me just say this. But I want us to keep in mind that as of tonight, Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. Donald Trump is ahead in the battleground states. If the election were held tonight, Donald Trump would be elected the president of the United States.
Bill,
can you put Hillary's message on a bumper sticker? What is it? I don't know what it is. I know what Trump says, make America great again. Whether you believe it or not, that's his message, and it's clear. You don't have that with Hillary.
But
yeah, go ahead.
I think that Dominic and Bill have identified the strategy that the Clintons were using hasn't worked. People thought that Donald Trump's statements were so outrageous. The racist statements, the anti-women statements, the anti-Muslim statements were so outrageous, the American people would just say, wow, this guy's not qualified to be the leader of the United States and commander-in-chief of our armed forces. That hasn't worked, perhaps because a lot of people are disappointed, are angry, are resentful that they haven't been able to get up on the next rung of the American dream. So this week, to me, the Democratic Convention was all about how to explain who Hillary was. And it was a deep dive because Hillary's very well defended personally in terms of revealing herself. But we got some of that about her fight for social justice since she was in law school and all the way through. And now it's up to Hillary to close the deal, to let the American people know who she really is, not this defensive lawyer defending her husband, defending other things about herself, but what she's tried to do and what her vision is for the future.
So you also think she needs, as Bill was saying, she needs to lay out more of a concrete agenda going forward for what she wants over the next 4 years?
I do, but mostly it's about her tone and her temperament. She needs to be confident, calm, warm, and personable. Her resume will speak for itself.
Let me just make this point that piggybacks on what the congressman is saying, and I agree. Okay, whether we like Donald Trump or not, he comes forward and makes his inflammatory comments at least once every week, once every 2 weeks, talks to the media, you know. Secretary Clinton does not do Q&As with the media.
Hasn't done it since November or December.
That is a major mistake. She will, okay, one major difference between Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton does the walk line and he will talk to almost every reporter that is standing along the line. Part of the Secret Service job when Secretary Clinton does the walk line, and I know this for a fact, is to keep reporters away, because if you get close enough to ask her a question, she will look at you and just outright ignore you. That's a bad strategy.
I think it's more her personality. She's very defensive. She's been attacked a lot, and she's very defensive. Some people are glib. I mean, not in a bad way. They can speak with great flexibility and great spontaneity. Hillary Clinton and perhaps a lot of us lawyers are not that way. Bill Clinton as a lawyer could do that. Hillary has trouble. But Dominic's right. She needs to get on the rope line and show her inner warm self that everybody talks about who's ever worked with her.
All right, up next, we're going to take a look at how people like Mike Bloomberg are trying to sell people from all parties on Hillary Clinton. But first, we'll go out to break with Rich's interview with Paul Rieckhoff, the founder of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. He tells us what vets are looking for in his mind from the next president.
Republicans and Democrats have been using veterans as props. We need to really get real reform. On VA reform, an issue that's really important, I know, to folks watching your shows. Women veterans need better support, and we've got a suicide crisis. 20 veterans a day are dying. So we want to hear from someone who wants to be the commander-in-chief. How are you going to talk to our military? How are you going to talk to our veterans? How are you going to fix things? You know, talking tough is easy, making real change is hard.